lighting today. I'm 53, be 54 in a month and a half, or maybe even a little less. Good brother, bad brother. Reading this to my grandchildren. Mother Mary had Jesus at 14 years old, so I could be a great-grandmother for some actors. This is the story of Edwin Booth, the brother of John Wilkes Booth, which is very interesting because they were in theater. A brother's crime. Edwin Booth often had premonitions that something bad was going to happen, but there is no evidence that he had any advance warning on April 14th, 1865, of the terrible event that was about to befall him and the nation. On that Friday, Good Friday, Booth sat in his dressing room at the Boston Theater applying his makeup for the evening performance. The theater's manager had told him if the house was sold out, and Booth wanted to give the crowd his best. An air of eager expectation filled the auditorium as the audience took their seats in the orchestra or climbed the steep steps to the balcony. Many had come to see Booth, who at 31 was considered one of America's finest actors. He was a movie star, if not the finest, but many others had come to celebrate the end of the Civil War. The Sunday before, on April 9th, the Confederate General Robert E. Lee had surrendered to the Union commander Ulysses S. Grant at the little town of Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. 4 years of increasingly bloody warfare had ended in victory for the North. Now, while the South mourned its loss, people all across the North rejoiced that the fighting was over. The Union flag, the American flag, flew everywhere, and red, white, and blue bunting decorated lampposts and storefronts in towns large and small. On Good Friday, thousands of Northerners gave thanks for the victory of attending church services in the morning. Then they flocked to restaurants and saloons to celebrate in other ways. That evening, theaters were packed in cities throughout the North, and Boston was no exception. For the occasion, Edwin Booth, who was famed for his performance in Shakespeare's plays, chose something in a less classical vein. He decided to appear as the villain, Sir Edward Mortimer, in a melodrama that never failed to please the crowd, The Iron Chest. When Edward made his appearance, clad in black velvet, the audience greeted him with loud applause. Unlike most actors of his day, Booth never indulged in grand gestures or studied pose. Instead, he acted in a more realistic style, relying on his low, intense voice and piercing dark eyes to compel the spectator's attention. Not a sound could be heard in the vast theater during the climactic death scene when Booth, as Sir Edward, finally admitted his guilt, and at the end he was brought back for curtain call after curtain call. That night, Edwin, who was staying at a friend's house in Boston, had trouble getting to sleep, but he still had no intimation of the shock that was in store for him for the next morning. Without knocking first, his valet burst into his bedroom shortly after 7. Thrusting a newspaper in front of a dazed Edwin, the man exclaimed, "Mr. Booth, President Lincoln has been shot." Before Edward could absorb the terrible fact, the valet went on, "And, oh, Mr. Booth, they say your brother John has done it." Really interesting topic to write about in nonfiction. Good Brother by James Cross Giblet. Fie, I knit thine unkind brow and dart not scornful glances toward your lord, your king, your governor. Blots thy beauty as frost to bite the needs, confounds thy fame as were once shake fair buds, but is no way meet or amiable. A woman moved is like a fountain troubled, murky, ill-seeming, thick, bereft of beauty. Call me Edwin Booth.